All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jippy House. Today we are joined with a very special guest, Noah Copeland, the creator of Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit,
That's
and
me.
Co-host Jade, of course.
Hello there.
And I'm Justin. Let's just get right into this. Let's get into the first question here. First of all, I'd really like to ask, why out of all the 8-bit games did you choose Triple Trouble? Was it a game that you grew up with, or was it just like one of your favorite games, or what was the story behind that?
Yeah, fun question. Yeah, I didn't grow up with Triple Trouble, really.
Oh, really? Okay.
The reason I picked Triple Trouble is because I've always wanted to make my own Sonic game. Making an entirely original game seemed too hard, so remaking one seemed easier. Taking a 8-bit game that seemed the closest to the 16-bit games, which in my opinion was Triple Trouble, seemed like the easiest thing to do. So in a very funny twist, I picked Triple Trouble because I'm like, this will be easy. I'll have this done in like a year. So anyway, 5 years later, the game's come out, and I'm glad everyone has played it and everything.
Oh my goodness.
So when you first decided to play Triple Trouble, had you played it before and you were like, I really like this game, or did you kind of just jump into it and you're like, okay, I'll pick this one because it seems like it's the easiest?
So I was working on a indie film, and I was on set. We were shooting on location. We'd finished shooting for the day, and somebody in the crew had Triple Trouble, and we were playing it.
Okay.
And I had played it. So I said I didn't grow up with it. I did play it on Sonic Adventure DX when I was a kid on GameCube, because you could unlock it in that game, if anyone remembers that. So I had played it there previously, but it'd been a while. But somebody brought it to the set. We were playing it there, and I went, "This is the one. This is a good game. Look how close it was to a Genesis game already.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is screaming at me. Remake me in a Genesis fashion." I'm like, "You are my guy. We're gonna do this." So that's kind of how it came from that.
Awesome.
Nice.
And that train level, too. I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's a dope level. Let's remake this for sure.
Yeah. I think that's the most memorable part of the game, I think.
Yeah. When we were playing through it, I was like, because we originally played Triple Trouble like way back in the day. It was the first Let's Play we had done on our channel. The video isn't up anymore because it's so bad and so poor quality. We were so young. And so when we heard that you had made the 16-bit version, we were like, we got to play this, because this was like the first thing that started our channel. So, and when we were playing the remake, I was like, oh man, I remember this train level. Like I remember playing it, the train level, and then the minecart level where you get in a little minecart, the second one.
Yeah. So 100%. Yes, the train is the most memorable part of the original game, for sure. Maybe of my remake, I don't know, but there was a lot of pressure for sure to nail that train level, and that train level I don't think it was completed until maybe the last year of development.
Wow.
Just because I tried previously but during development, but like when I really sat down and nailed it, I just kept putting it off because there's so much pressure to get that right, because it's the most memorable one. It's the song everyone remembers. So by doing it the last year in development, I was able to apply all the lessons I had learned previously leading up to that point, because
Gotcha.
I don't have a computer science degree. I'm not a programmer by trade or anything. This is the first sort of game project of this scale that I've ever tackled before. So this was a giant learning experience for me.
Gotcha. Well, can you tell us a little bit about like how the process of taking like an 8-bit game like Triple Trouble and turning it into a 16-bit game? Like, what is the timeline that you had to go through for, from start to finish? Like, how do you do that?
Right, yeah. So again, lots of learning. It took me a while to get to what we have now. Again, remember when I said I was naive and said, like, this will be easy, I'll have this done in a year?
Yeah.
Part of that was because I thought that you could just take the original level layouts from the Triple Trouble, give them better graphics, stick Genesis Sonic in there, and ship it,
Yeah.
But I tried that. I struggled with that to make that work. I took the Game Gear maps and put them in Genesis Sonic in them. They're too small, so then I times them by 2, just to make them fit a bigger Sonic. and that didn't work too because the physics are just so different. In Game Gear, on the original Triple Trouble, Sonic has like a moon jump. It's very floaty. He like jumps like
I
like
remember that.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say he jumps 4 times his height on Game Gear, where it's only like 2.5 on Genesis or something like that. So the physics don't work. They don't translate. These levels were not made for the way that Genesis Sonic plays, so they just don't translate. And that was a giant roadblock right there, because now that makes my job infinitely harder.
Yeah.
Now I have to I can't just remaster these levels. I have to remake them, reinvent them, reimagine them. So that's maybe where the bulk of the time comes from there, is studying what makes Genesis Sonic work in terms of level design. So just studying those maps, looking online of screenshots of the maps, playing those games over and over. Just a lot, just literally 5 years of research for that. I am convinced that Sonic levels are the hardest levels to design for of any game.
Oh, I can
infinitely
imagine the
harder
paths and whatnot. It sounds crazy to try and put in.
Yes, infinitely harder than Mario with his, kind of one path, one sort of idea from start to finish, very linear, very structured and orderly. Where Sonic is just madness. It's just throwing stuff at you constantly. Hirokazu Yasuhara, who is the level designer on the first 3 Sonic games, I'm convinced is an utter genius to be like what was essentially like one of the first games he ever worked on, and to just create a level design structure that is still unmatched. That it took us how long before Sonic Mania before we got back to that same sort of level design structure again. It is so hard, and that's probably where the bulk of the timeline went to. Me learning how to program a game and working with some very talented artists to update the graphics, but the level design is the biggest part, and that was the hardest challenge for sure.
I did want to ask you, did Sega or Sonic Team contact you at all at any point during development?
Sega or Sonic Team did not contact me at any point during development, which I'm okay with, because really it's just a passion project. I'm not trying to be some, big shot or make this like something. I've always wanted to make a Sonic game since I was a kid, and I wanted to see that vision through to the end. And, basically that's what I did. If it had become like an official thing, that may have changed the course of it, once all that gets involved and things become infinitely more complex. I will say this though, I did get there have been some former and current Sega employees that have reached out on just like their personal social media accounts, not any sort of official channels, and just been like, hey, I saw this, looks pretty cool. And I was just like,
that's awesome.
hey, that's the best. That's the best taste you could ask for.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
100%.
Do you think that there's any sort of potential for like any sort of issues with your game or anything like that, or anything that you would be wary about in the future with it?
In what way?
Like, I know that Sega is like pretty lenient when it comes to fan games and whatnot. Was that anything you were thinking about, and when you were making the game, like, did you ever have that worry?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't, because I was making specifically a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game and the history that we have there. Sonic fan games probably have the longest and most sophisticated history of any sort of game series fan games goes. Other companies might be a little quicker with the hammer, but Sega, specifically with Sonic, I don't know about their other properties, but specifically with Sonic, they're pretty chill. Their main thing, history tells us, is basically just don't charge for it. Don't be trying to make money off it. Don't be trying to profit off it. As long as it's free and it's for fun, and you're just doing it in your bedroom and putting it up online for free to people play, like I did, we don't care, because that's a fan game. Once you start trying to charge for it, that's a bootleg. That's different, you know.
Right.
So, given that. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Sage Expo.
I have not.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, one of you has, the other has it. It's a Sonic Amateur Games Expo. This has been going on since either 2000 or 1999, so over 20 years. Sonic fans have gotten together and made Sonic fan games. And I don't know any other community quite like that. So, there was a huge precedent there where it's just like, yeah, you can make the Sonic fan game. It's going to be fine. Just don't be stupid. Don't try to make money off it. Keep it a passion project, and it's all good. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, actually, I did want to ask on a side note, how was it bringing the team together of all the people that worked on it? Was that like a huge process that took a long time throughout the years, or did you just have everyone from like first year?
No, so really the team was probably incredibly small until like the last year.
Okay.
And that was on purpose. So I had worked as a musician on some Sonic fan games previously, where I just sort of helped out providing like music. And neither of those games are still in development. Neither of them ever got finished. And, I was in those Discord chats, or it would have been Skype at the time, rest in peace. And I saw the power struggles and the arguments. Because the thing about a fan game, because it's a passion project, because it's for free, no one is getting paid. And because no one's getting paid and no one's doing the paying, there's inherently no sort of tangible hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right.
So everyone is equal. And when everyone all has equal power and everyone wants the most power, nothing gets done because everyone's trying to fight for their will and that kind of thing. So I intentionally, when I started making this, my goal was to make it like almost entirely by myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
To keep as much of that from happening. The very talented artist, D Lightyears, she was probably the main artist that was with me throughout the whole time. I worked with her pretty much the whole time. So it's just like me and her for like most of the 5 years. Slowly, as time went on, would add another artist here, another artist there. Art was the department I needed the most help on because I'm not a pixel artist. I did most of the music by myself, did most of the level design, did a lot of the programming by myself. But art I needed a lot of help on. So we would slowly add artists. And I didn't add any until I did the first demo for the game back in 2019. What's important about having a demo out first is when you're having that power struggle without a demo, the game is still sort of shapeless and malleable, and everyone's trying to shape it to their will. If you have a demo, you have a tangible product that says, look, this is what I am doing, this is the vision, this is what we're going for. It has some shape to it. It's less malleable. Therefore, if you include more people, it's clear what direction we're headed in, and they're less likely to try to sabotage it, right? So as the project went on, I slowly added more and more people as things got more developed and it was more clear what we were trying to do. Maybe about 4 artists joined in the last year, and we just kind of sped run through it there at the end. But yeah, I think that was sort of a key thing, was keeping the team as small as possible. If you look at most fan games that have been finished, because this is done in your spare time, there's no guarantee any of this is going to get finished. Right. Like Fepard's games and Sonic before and after the sequel, or like AM2R, things like that. Mostly they're done by one-ish person or 2 people. So keep the team small is a word of advice I would say to anyone trying to make this happen.
Well, that pretty much brings us directly into our next question, seeing that you were the lead music person. Justin, do you want to get into that?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a little bit about what was the process for creating or adapting, upgrading, I don't know what the right word is, but bringing that music from 8-bit to 16-bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Man, I could talk about that a long time, so stop me when it gets boring.
Oh no, it won't get boring.
So the Sega Genesis has a very particular sound to it, right? And that was the big thing with this project, that's why it's called Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit. That 16-bitness is about the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. So we were trying to keep accuracy as close to the chest as we could. So there's never more than 65 colors on screen at one time, because that's what the Sega Genesis could do. And there's never more than 6 tracks of FM synthesis in your ears at one time, because that's what the very specific sound chip on the Sega Genesis did. So I have, there are a lot of different ways to sort of create Genesis music. I use a tool called FM Drive, which emulates the sound of a Sega Genesis. Some other people that help with the soundtrack use Defel Mask, which is a tracker that also makes Sega Genesis music. You can literally burn it to a ROM and play it on real hardware, which is very nice.
Wow.
So for me, it was a lot of studying Sega Genesis music. I've listened to hours upon hours over the past 5 years, hundreds of hours, literally, of just Sega Genesis music, opening up debug tools to look at Sega Genesis music where you could isolate each track one by one. You learn all the little tricks they do. Because if you don't know this, I don't know how musically inclined either of you are, but, well, I see a drum set in the background.
He makes some music in his spare time, so.
There you go. So, you play like a chord on guitar or piano. It's multiple notes. The thing on a Sega Genesis is the sound chip has 6 channels, but all 6 channels can only play one note. So if you want to make a chord that's 6 notes, you have to use every channel to form that one chord, and it leaves you with nothing else. You couldn't have a bass line under it, right? So there's all sorts of tricks and weird stuff you do to get around that. If you want, you can't do like echo or delay unless you literally take a track and then duplicate the track and just turn it down and move its position, its timeline further up, and you sort of fake a delay like that. So all these tricks you have to learn and figure out to make that happen. And me and sort of the guest musicians I work with did that a lot. So transferring specifically from 8-bit to 16-bit, how we do it is a lot of times is I would do Act 1 music, and then I'd have a guest musician do Act 2, right? So I would listen to the original recording, which is the original soundtrack, which was composed by Yayoi Waichi, which is the only Sonic game she ever worked on. Oh, wow. So the soundtrack to Triple Trouble has a unique sound that's unlike any other Sonic soundtrack. A lot of chromaticism. She loves chromatic stuff, which is kind of un-Sonic-y. It's not really found anywhere else. So it was really hard. It's probably the hardest soundtrack I could have picked to make sound like a Genesis Sonic, because it's just rules of composition are so different. So trying to reconcile that was a big challenge. So you really have to stop. The mistake I made at the first was just take the exact same parts, but just put the note information into a Genesis instrument. Doesn't sound like Sonic. You sort of have to massage it, change sort of the way the notes flow into each other, change the sort of the rhythms and the accents to get it to sound more like Sonic. So I was probably more faithful in my adaptations. I would listen to the 8-bit versions, picture what it would have sounded like on 16-bit, and make that happen. But what I found is that once I did that initial translation, that I was sort of out of ideas to make an Act 2. I did that a couple times, like Sunset Park Zone, both acts I made the music, but it was a lot easier for me to go find the many talented chiptune artists out there and be like, all right, I took this 8-bit version and I made my interpretation of it. You're a different human, you're a different artist with a different mind. How would you see it? You do, and you can also go crazier than I went to, because it's Act 2, you can really shake it up a lot.
Yeah.
And the stuff some of them came up with is incredible. DV2 is the artist that did Atomic Destroyer Act 2. If you listen to that, that might be the best piece of Sega Genesis music ever written. He uses every trick in the book. He pushes that. It doesn't sound possible, but it's all completely possible on that sound chip. It's incredible.
Wow. That's amazing that it could actually run on a Genesis. That's really incredible.
Going past the music more into like the art aspect and the story of the game, the cutscenes that you made for the 16-bit, like with the characters like interacting with each other and the story that's there, did you have any difficulty making those cutscenes and tying in this story? Because it seems like it takes place almost exactly like after Sonic 3 and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's another topic that I was particularly passionate about. So there's some technical aspects and then some more like creative aspects. Creative aspects, I would say it was a challenge to figure out how to make the story follow Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Because in my mind, this remake was a hypothetical Genesis game that never happened, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It came from a time machine from 1995 and some sort of alternate reality, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it makes sense to me that it would have been a follow-up to Sonic 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, based on what's established in Sonic 3 and what the original story in Triple Trouble was telling, how do we reconcile that? First challenge, in the original Triple Trouble, Knuckles is the antagonist. When he had literally just finished his character arc in Sonic 3 of going from an antagonist to a someone who helps Sonic, right?
Right.
So there was sort of that puzzle and figuring that out, all right? And I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it yet, but for me, it was looking at it and going, Sonic Triple Trouble, it's got Knuckles, Knack, and Eggman, but then also Metal Sonic, so it's more like Quadruple Trouble. Wait a minute, I have an idea. Let's all consider these all puzzle pieces, move them around a little bit, fill in the gaps, and come up with a solution to this Knuckles problem that doesn't conflict with the original story, but only adds to it by filling in just little spaces in between. That was just essentially the figuring out the puzzle of making it follow Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but also be true to the original game, right? And sort of the technical challenges of that is telling all that story through the medium of a classic Sonic game, right? So I'm glad that you complimented the cutscenes, because those were a lot of work.
Yeah, they looked awesome. They were awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Because what you have with classic Sonic is, what are your tools for storytelling, right? So there's no dialogue in classic Sonic. There's no voice acting. There's no text bubbles that come up. So that's out. There's no words. That's a huge tool, but that's okay. We can work with visuals. There's, show, don't tell. We can do stuff through visual storytelling. Well, what are the tools of visual storytelling? Well, look at a comic or a movie or a animated film. They're using angles and cameras and different shots and perspectives. We have to do this all seamlessly in gameplay, so it has to be from the side.
Yeah.
So what kind of story is told only from the side with no dialogue or words, right? So, like the camera never moves. So from like theater, if you think of like musical theater, the camera never moves because the camera is the audience, but they have a bunch of words and dialogues, right? If you don't have words and dialogues, the camera's moving a lot. So it was really storytelling hard mode, right? I'm looking at, I looked at Spy versus Spy, if you guys know what that is.
I do not.
I do not.
It's an old cartoon with just like this spy in like a white trench coat and a spy in a black trench coat, and they're just like trying to like throw bombs at each other and flying in jetpacks. It's just really goofy slapstick stuff. But what's interesting about it is that there is no talking, no dialogue, and it's told completely from the side perspective. You never get a front shot of these guys for whatever reason. So I looked at that, and just that was a big help in trying to figure out how to make this work. You really have to just think of how to tell the story best with action and interactions between the two characters. So it was a big challenge, and I'm very happy to hear that you guys liked it.
No, it was beautiful. It felt really like this was the next game after Sonic 3. It just flowed perfectly. Especially like
awesome.
The way you
Thank
started
you.
the game with the Sonic 3, like how it ended and then it flows right into Triple Trouble is really great.
Thank you.
I hate to ask this question, out of curiosity, do you see yourself remaking any of the other 8-bit games, or was it just this one?
I do not see myself making any other fan games anytime soon. This was an absolute blast, but it was a 5-year journey that was done for free in my spare time and released for free. And so I'm not interested in making another fan game unless I want to burn myself straight into the ground.
Totally understandable.
Yeah, so
Totally
I've been blown away by the response and how positive it's been. For me, that's a huge reward. And I set out to learn how to make a game and learn how to finish a game, which I think are two separate skill sets that some people may have the first one, but not the second one. So I wanted to make a game and I wanted to learn how to finish a game, and I did both. And so in my mind, I have graduated. I've achieved my goals with fan games, and I'm ready to move on to something else and make my own original indie games.
Gotcha.
That'd be amazing. I'm so excited for
Yeah.
whatever you got going on.
Thank you. I hope everyone sticks around for it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this game was really something else. Playing, it's funny because like Origins just came out, and the experience that most people had, especially me, was kind of just like, this seems a little unfinished and buggy. And so to have a good classic Sonic experience at like the perfect time, I mean, it must be like, how does that feel to like actually have this be done and you can just like stand back and look at it? It must be a great feeling.
Yeah,
relief.
You have no idea. Oh my gosh. Because think about 5 years. 5 years is a long time. I could have got another bachelor's degree in that time, in less than that time.
Right.
And
True.
think of 5 years that there's always in the back of your mind that thing that you haven't finished yet that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's constant work. It's constant hours, right? But you still want to make sure that you're healthy about it. It's just a passion project. I didn't like lock myself in a room. I still made sure to, maintain a social life and,
Of course.
full-time employment and all that kind of stuff, right? Which just makes it go on longer, but it's still 5 years in the back of your head. It's always there. And you just want so bad to get it done, and you can't wait to get it done. So to finally have it done is so rewarding. And I was just happy if it just got out of the door and 3 people played it.
Right.
I've had thousands of people play it. It was out an hour and people were sending me messages of the ending credits where it was 100%ed. It was incredible. And what's funny to me is I saw a review of it, and one of the complaints was that they thought that a couple of the levels, particularly the levels where you're snowboarding or in the submarine, which are a little untraditional Sonic, that they didn't have very good like replay value, that they're cool on the first time, but when you go back and play them, it's not as fun anymore. And I'm like, you know what? That might even be fair criticism, because to be honest, I wasn't thinking about replay value. I didn't think anybody would. I was worried if anyone would play this game once. I didn't know anyone would play it twice or 3 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't hold up after that, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking that far ahead, to be honest. I'm just glad people played it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Well, now that you've released the game, I didn't have this question planned, but now I'm curious. You've released the game, it's out, but I want to know, with all of these challenges, was there ever a time where you considered just giving up on it? And you were like, you know what,
baby.
Maybe I just don't have the time and I gotta stop.
Man, definitely times where I definitely wanted to.
Yeah.
Definitely times where I'm like, this is stupid. Is this ever gonna get done? Is anyone even gonna play this, that type of thing? But I usually try to be a man of my word. When I started this, I said, if anything else, I'm going to finish this.
Yeah.
I may not do this, I may not do that, I may cut this, change that, but I at least want to finish this. I want to be one of the few Sonic fan games that actually gets completed.
Yeah,
and
you
gets
didn't want to be part of that stigma of fan games that don't ever get done.
Right, yes. So, while I definitely wanted to give up a lot, I always told myself, I'm going to at least finish something.
Well, this is kind of a random question to ask just about the gameplay now that we've kind of covered everything, but the character switching, like switching between Sonic and Tails, like what was your inspiration for that? And were the levels that you created always designed around having that feature? Like did you take inspiration from Sonic Heroes? Because as soon as you play the game, it's like, oh, this is, kind of like Sonic Heroes, like this is really cool. What was the process for that?
Right, yeah. So it actually comes from the fact that the game in Japan is not called Sonic Triple Trouble. It's called Sonic and Tails 2. Because Sonic Chaos was not called Sonic Chaos in Japan. It was called Sonic and Tails. So they're actually sequels to each other in Japan. But it's not as obvious in America and Europe. But the game called Sonic and Tails. So I thought it'd be cool if you're literally playing as Sonic and Tails the whole time. Talking about earlier with doing all that cutscene and storytelling, I thought it would be best if you had both of them there so that they could both interact with the characters. There are parts in the game where you see Sonic have a different reaction than Tails. Like my favorite one is when you first run into Knuckles for the first time in this game. As far as Sonic and Tails know, Knuckles is on good terms with them. So when he shows up, if you look, Sonic looks up and Tails stands behind him and he actually waves at Knuckles, which is very cute and adorable.
That, actually.
And then Knuckles pulls out a bomb and then they both gasp and then get thrown into the
I need to go
ravine
rewatch
below.
it now.
Yeah, so it was fun to do stuff like that with both the characters. Like if you guys got the 100% ending, there's a fun moment with Tails sort of nudging Sonic to get up and all this fun stuff. So it sort of came from that. I did like playing Sonic Heroes growing up. Sonic Classic Heroes is a really cool Sonic ROM hack.
Yeah.
Which just takes Sonic like 1 and 2, but you can play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all at the same time and switch back and forth. It's funny how long this game has been in development for, because there's stuff that's happened now in Sonic games since I started that it looks like I took it from that game, but I've just been working on this for so long. The example I'll give is Sonic Mania's Encore mode, where you can switch back and forth between 2 characters at any time, much like you can in this game, right? A lot of people said like, oh, so did you get that idea from Encore mode? I'm like, actually, Sonic Mania didn't exist when I started this game because I've been making this thing for way too long.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know? So, but obviously, when it comes out, no one is thinking about that. Everyone just goes like, oh, clearly got this idea from Encore mode. I'm like, sure, we'll go with that.
Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say that's been a concept that's always been there, the switching characters thing. It's been there since Heroes, like since early 2000s. So yeah.
Yeah. It's not that out of control, but the Sonic Mania Encore comparisons did happen a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's a funny one. You say that. That's really funny too. Is so there's a snowboarding sequence in my game, right?
Yeah.
The original Sonic Triple Trouble has snowboarding in it. The box art is literally Sonic snowboarding. Sonic Adventure has Sonic snowboarding. Sonic 3 has Sonic snowboarding. You know?
Sonic 06 has Sonic snowboarding.
Has Sonic snowboarding, yes. The amount of people that said, oh, did you get the idea for that snowboard section from the Sonic 2 movie that just came out?
Oh my
That's
that makes no sense.
so funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, have you seen the original game? He's snowboarding on the cover. Like, that's the game I'm remaking. Like, it's not from the movie, I promise.
Like, no, the movie got it from the game I'm remaking. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
The movie's got everything from the game.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you.
Yes. Sonic was actually a video game character first.
right?
Yeah, I know. To the younger generations now, it seems like he's just a movie character. But yeah, he's a video game character.
100%. Yeah, so that's probably the funniest of those comparisons I've got so far.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Gotcha.
So, this one's kind of unrelated to the game. Just asking, are there any experiences that you've had with the franchise that you like to share? And like, what is your favorite Sonic game?
So for me, kind of the reason I like video games and like making video games is because of Sonic. Do you guys remember back in the day at like Walmart when you could go play a demo kiosk of like a GameCube or something? The controller was down here and the screen was like 30 feet in the air and you'd have to like
Yes.
crank your neck up to like see what was happening, right? Well, I cranked my neck up one time in the electronics department and I saw Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. And that's right, my first Sonic experience was on a Nintendo console on one of those.
Hey, same here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And it was 2001 or 2. I'm like 10 years old. And it's like I see a cool cartoon animal character jump out of a helicopter, snowboard down the streets to like punk rock music
Yeah.
at blazing speeds, and then the camera goes in on him and he's running down the side of a building, and then there's like a truck chasing after you and it's coming up to you right at the last minute, and you go under an underpass and it crashes. What more could I want fed straight into my brain as a 10-year-old boy than that?
Yeah.
That was everything I wanted. It still is everything I want. I love Sonic Adventure 2 so much. That's the game that made me go, I think I like video games. I want more of whatever that is, right? But what's funny is I didn't have money for a GameCube at the time because, again, I'm 10 years old. I have to wait to whenever the next Christmas is. But I did notice that the aisle over, they had, for $10, Sonic 3 and Knuckles for Windows 98. So the first game I ever bought was the PC port with the weird music of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So I got a sort of a healthy balance of both just modern Sonic and classic Sonic right there at the start, which I think sort of informed my view from there. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Sonic has sort of shaped my love of video games at an early age from that point on. So it's been great to sort of, come back to him and revisit him from time to time. I think one of the best experiences was going to South by Southwest here in Austin for their official Sonic panel, and just to actually like meet all the other crazies in real life, and the voice actors and the games creators and that kind of thing. Just a surreal experience. I won't forget. Shout out to Shanny, classic Knack fan. You may see him online. He's the biggest fan of Knack / Fang, whatever you want to call him, who's in Triple Trouble. I just ran into him at South by. I'd never met him before, and I just introduced myself. He goes, "You're no Copeland, right?" And he goes, I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, he says, "You're the guy remaking Sonic Triple Trouble, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "This is gonna sound weird, but can I hug you?" He loves Knack so much that he just had to hug me for remaking, Knack's introductory game. So
Wow.
stuff like that is just kind of funny and wholesome.
It's amazing. That character doesn't get enough love. Those whole cast of characters, Bark, Bean, and Fang, they're so forgotten. It was good to see him in Mania, but it was amazing to see him again in your game.
Yeah, I really wanted to crank the Knack up to 11 on this game.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say is your favorite non-Sonic game? Do you draw any, what do you draw inspiration from when it comes to, non-Sonic games?
Oh, yes. I could do a whole video off of all the non-Sonic references that are in my game.
I would love to see
There's
that.
Metroid references, Kirby references, Super Mario World. There's some Uncharted stuff in there.
I actually mentioned that in the playthrough. That's funny you mentioned that.
Oh, really?
Because the train section reminded me of Uncharted 2 for some reason.
That's not for some reason, because I was looking at that train section when I was making that. I looked at a lot of different train levels for that.
Wow.
And if you notice the game, the transitions between zones, that it never fades to black and fades up. It's all seamless, because I was playing way too much God of War 2018 at the time, which is very famous for its no-cut camera. It never cuts or fades out. It's all one continuous shot, like, Birdman or 1917, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of game references outside of Sonic in there that are all over it, and I probably will do that video about it so you guys can see that.
Awesome. Yeah, I look
That'd be
forward to that.
amazing.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's just about all we've got for the interview. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or anything else you'd like to say to your fans of the game and whatnot, or people out there creating Sonic games, or who want to create a Sonic game? Any advice or anything that you want to leave off for closing?
I will reiterate, as in terms of advice, I will reiterate on something I said earlier, which is understand that creating and finishing are two separate skill sets, and that you have to intentionally get good at the finishing part. Creating and finishing, two separate skill sets. Get good at the finishing part, or the creating part will just go on forever. In terms of what to say to people that have played the game, I just want to say absolutely thank you. I cannot believe just how overwhelmingly positive the reception has been so far. I'm so glad that it's made you guys smile. I've seen every message you guys have sent. It means the world to me. It's absolutely beautiful. Just the joy that it's seemed to have brought some of you. So play the game if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter at Noah in Copeland if you're curious to see what I do next.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Well,
Thank you
everyone,
so much for your time, man.
Yeah, thank you, Noah, for your time. And everybody, we're going to put the link to his game here in the description. We'll link his Twitter down below as well. So go ahead and check him out. Check out his team and all of the other creative people who've worked on this game with him. But other than that, that's all we've got. So stick around for more, everyone. Thank you so much, Noah.
Thank you guys. You rock.